Good morning, Jay. How you doing, buddy?
Hey,
Good
Jay.
morning. How's it going?
Good. Last time we talked to you, we were a little jet lagged, but have you gotten your feet back under you yet?
We have. We're back and back to regular hours of sleeping and waking up and back in the gym, ready to go.
Tell our listeners a little bit about how the fight situation is structured. You're always looking for fights, and you're always looking, trying to make some money up naturally. If you would, just sort of go over the structure of what you try to do to get more fights and to get to the very top, if you don't mind.
Well, what we do, Coach, is we try to be the most active heavyweight in the history of the game, and we're on a pace to try to do just that, and so we don't wait around like a lot of these heavyweights do. Deontay is always in shape. He's just kind of like a ball of energy, and if he's the only guy I know, I've just never seen anybody like him. We may fly in from England, and of course all I want to do is go home and go to bed. And he says, when I get home, I got to ride to Atlanta, and then I got to do this with this person. Then I go from there back here, and then I'm in a basketball tournament tomorrow, and then I got to. And I'm like, good grief, it's unlike anything you've ever seen. So since he's always in shape, we are always actively looking to fight, which means that we're going down the top 15 of the WBC rankings, and pretty much year round looking for who's available and who's ready. We don't hear about a fight and then run to the gym and get in shape. We're already in the gym, and that way, if we hear about a fight, we're ready to take it.
All right, well, Jay, you guys announced a fight. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but tell us who Deontay's fighting. Tell us a little bit about him, when it is. I know I guess it's July 16th. Just give us all the details.
Boy, this thing came about really quick, Barry. I'm telling you, we got back from England. We were one day away from traveling to Russia, and of course, Deontay's opponent tested positive for a banned substance, so the fight was called off, and we were kind of really, really just gutted, dejected, depressed, and we came back and took a few days off because in my business, if you don't fight, you don't get paid, and so we were Deontay's in shape and everything, and all of a sudden we got a call, and they asked if we might be available for July 16th, and we said absolutely. So we took a couple of weeks off and got back in the gym. And now it's going to be July 16th, and as of yesterday, it was announced that Birmingham had beat out Brooklyn and Los Angeles for the fight, and Birmingham is going to host it at Legacy Arena, which we all know is the BJCC, on July 16th. And I'm not sure what network is going to carry it, but there's several that it could land on. But it's going to be against Chris Arreola, who's the guy, a name that a lot of boxing fans would recognize. East Los Angeles. Real tough guy, 6'3", 6'4", 240 pounds, big puncher, very exciting fighter. He only knows one way to fight, and that's to come forward as hard as he can and try to knock you out.
So Chris Arreola, July 16th, Legacy Arena. Jay, I'm interested in that. So how do you guys have a team? I'm sure everybody handles their own responsibility with this. So how do you go about finding the network? How do you determine the purse in something like this on a fight that's made this fast?
That's a great question, because that's really all I've been doing for the last 3 or 4 days.
You're the one you're the one in charge of that.
That's part of mine, yeah. But it was actually quite interesting. It's called a tack-on fight. What that means is that it wasn't planned. It was not on the schedule. It was not budgeted. This is like, you put in your monthly budget and everything, and then your car, blows up, and you've got to get a new engine. You got, it's like an expense nobody anticipated. So we have tried to just piece this thing together, since we all knew Deontay needed to get in the ring, and so what we did was we just put it out there to every network, and the first thing you do is look for scheduling. Who's scheduling. August, of course, was off the board because of the Olympics. So July or September were the 2 months, and we didn't want to wait for September because of football. So we went July, and so we've got it out there right now. This thing could land on Spike. It could land on Fox. It could land on NBC or CBS, or still possibly Showtime. So they're all still in the mix. We talked to them all yesterday. We're going to talk to them all again today. And it started off as us hoping to find a network, but it's actually worked around where the interest, once Chris Ariola's name was on the dotted line, now the networks are clamoring for it. So this is a great thing. So we're looking at the possibility of a primetime network type.
Is there a boxing association that you have to deal with? I'm sure there is, that is accessible to you, that you can understand, that, that has all the right things to say and is interested in moving him up forward. Do you have to deal with an association? My question, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you guys, had the SEC to go to for all those things, for all those years. And you know how the leadership would change, and it may change your relationship.
That's the reason I said that.
Same thing here. Exact same thing. The WBC is the organization that Deontay is the champion of. That's the same organization whose champions were Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, Muhammad Ali. And so it's a great organization, and they've been very, very good to us. In fact, they were the ones that said, since your opponent tested positive for a banned substance, we're not going to hold you up. You can fight. And that was great, because they could have said, you're not fighting until we work all this out and see what we're going to do. But they said, go ahead and fight, get one in the books. And so that was huge. That was really great of them.
Is the reach that Deontay has, with the arms, the reach that he has, to me, and I know nothing about it, as you know, a really plus for him against all the guys that he fights? I just think about his reach and his ability to get to him. Is that a plus?
Reach is huge, but only if you know how to use it properly. I mean, a 5'10" guy can out jab a 6'4" guy.
Okay.
If his timing, like Mike Tyson used to out jab guys, because his timing was so good, and the way he moved. And it was something where he would negate their advantages and make it his. So Deontay certainly has natural advantage of height, but again, like basketball, you could have that 7-footer that just doesn't use his height to his advantage. Deontay does a great job of using his height to his advantage, but he doesn't do it by standing up as tall as possible. That'd actually be the worst thing he can do. The more important distance in boxing is not the distance between the top of your head and the sky. The more important distance is the distance between you and your opponent. So you hear a lot of guys talk about fighting tall, but what you really want your guy to do is fight long. You want there to be a distance you can reach your opponent at that he can't reach you, and that's really what we're after.
So if this Chris Arreola, if he comes in here and beats Deontay, he's the heavyweight champion of the world?
He is. He's fought for it twice before and came up short, and this will be his third time, which he hopes is a charm. He's a serious, tough guy. He does not mind taking punches. He'll take 3 or 4 to land one. He knocked out Seth Mitchell in one round, who was thought to be the next a really good fighter coming up. And he knocked out, if you remember, Deontay knocked out Eric Molina in 9 rounds, his first fight in Birmingham. Chris Arreola, a few years earlier, knocked out Eric Molina in 1 round.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, he's a very, very strong puncher, and I don't think he's as good a boxer as Deontay, and I think Deontay's much more athletic than he is, but you cannot let Chris Arreola hit you solid, that's for sure.
So what is the latest with, I'm going to butcher his name, Povatkin? Where does that thing stand?
We're still waiting on the WBC to rule on it. I know that they were supposed to rule this month, and then, Muhammad Ali, who was one of their big champions, passed away. So now they're in Louisville at the funeral, and we're supposed to know pretty soon whether they're going to suspend him, what amount of time. He was banned for he was caught with the same substance in his system that Maria Sharapova was caught with, the tennis player, and she just got a 2-year suspension. Now, boxing's different, so I don't see a 2-year suspension, but they may come back and give him 6 months or a year, or I'm really not sure exactly what's going to happen with him, but we're basically moving on, and if we get back there to him, that's fine. But in the meantime, we're all about Chris Arreola.
The fight everybody wants, Jay. It's Tyson Fury. When's that going to happen?
Well, that's the same discussion we always have. The manager hat can answer that question. The trainer hat says there's nothing but Chris Ariola, because in boxing,
Yeah, you're right.
if you
Bad
look past
question.
anybody, you wind up looking up at the light. But I would say as a manager that it's perfect timing that Deontay's fighting July 16th. Tyson Fury has a rematch with Vladimir Klitschko, who he won the title from. That's July the 9th. So the timing is perfect that both of them are fighting so close together. So theoretically, both of them would be ready to fight each other, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, or 6 months down the road, if they both come through this in good shape.
Yeah, did you see how Jay did that? Now, he did learn something living next door to coaches, that you don't look ahead. See, that was a bad question.
Well, I wish when he goes from place to place, he'd say, I live next door to a coach. And he took his sons out there and he beat them in basketball every time they played in the driveway.
Jay's not going to lie. Why would Jay lie?
He was so much better than everybody in the neighborhood. Is unreal, but I hope he says that.
Jay's not
I don't think I ever scored when a Sanderson was on the court.
Well, he's talking about Jay, though, when he would get out there and shoot against us, like he would win.
Oh, yeah. I beat him all.
Yeah, that was a whole different level there.
Yeah, well, that fish that you caught that was 1 pound, and then 10 years later it was 4 pounds, 20 years later it was 5. That's what you're dealing with there, Jay.
Hey, I tell you, yeah, that was a great neighborhood for boys. I tell you, we had a neighborhood full of guys that wound up playing different sports and being involved in sports, whether it be coaching and all. I mean, there's got to be 8 to 10 of us that wound up, coaching on some level or playing on some level.
Yeah. So, all right, last question. I think I asked you this, and how do you determine a purse in this fight? Is it based on the network and all those things? Is that what you're talking about as far as whether it's pay-per-view? How do you determine a purse on this fight?
That's exactly right. Really, the networks kind of pay for everything. And they will take a combination of what they think ticket-wise they're going to sell, and then sponsors that they'll get, whether it be a Corona or a Just for Men or some of those other ones that have been Gillette that have been big in history, and then they'll take the network will basically be the one that handles all that, and they'll come up with a figure for Deontay, a figure for Chris Ariola. And then they'll turn around and sell enough advertising to pay for it, and that's what's so great about of having the networks competing for it. Is it's going to be a good situation for Deontay because his last fight didn't happen, so this is a good one to get in.
Yep. One last question. Les Dad's got one. A little bit controversial. You can just shrug it and not answer if you want. I will say I think Tuscaloosa University shunned Deontay the first time. I think he's outgrown them now. I think he's probably too big. They missed the window, the opportunity. Was Tuscaloosa even considered, a university considered for this fight?
Well, I'm still hopeful that one day something can be worked out with the university, and the city of Tuscaloosa has been fantastic. They want a Deontay Wilder fight in the worst way. The university, I'm not sure they shared that that passion. But I think I think it's different now. I think that there's doors open now that maybe weren't open a year ago. And for this particular fight, it really came down to it was such a quick thing that we needed an arena and a setup that was already in motion, that we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. We needed decisions made in 24 to 48 hours. And so I think with Tuscaloosa, we would have had to go through more to get to that point. Anytime you deal with an institute, that's an educational institution, like whether it be UAB or the University of Alabama, there's people that have to get approvals and those kind of things. And it was really more that there just wasn't the time to put all that in place and get it done. Yeah. But those doors, I think, are more open now, and we're hoping to establish a good relationship for the future, because Deontay's a Tuscaloosa guy. He's talked to the football team, basketball team, baseball team, been introduced at all the games. He's really been supportive of the university. The university's an important part of this community. Deontay's an important part of this community. So it's just really a natural that they would come together, and hopefully that there are doors open now that weren't in the recent past.
Well, Jay, take your pen and mark down Dad and I for two prime. I mean, we want prime time tickets. When we get off the air, I'm gonna text you.
Are you getting any sleep, Barry?
Not much. Well, up until last night, I didn't do much. So I'm old. I don't need a lot of sleep. But we want two prime time tickets, and I'm gonna text you Dad's address. Send the invoice to his house.
All right, you got it. Hey, you guys are media. You can get a.
Yeah, we get media pay. It's just no invoice.
Well, I was just trying to make Jay feel good.
Hey, are you guys going to be there?
We're going to go. We're next door neighbors.
Yeah, we're going to be there.
Yeah, he's going to talk about how I used to whip everybody.
We're going to be there. We want to come back to the locker room for the game, for the fight.
Hey, we can work that out. We'll get that situation.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it.
Jay.
Hey, thank you guys so much.